Well, joining me now from Washington is Congressman Brad Sherman. He's a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee and the co-chair of the Congressional Israel Allies Conference. Congressman, we appreciate the time this afternoon.
Good to be with you.
I would assume you've heard our latest reports from both Israel and Gaza, and I would just like to get your immediate reaction to what you've heard and your stance on the conflict as it stands right now.
Every one of those rockets is a war crime. Almost every one. Every rocket that is not aimed at a military target, but is instead aimed at a civilian target or just a city, is a war crime. Of course, it's a war crime committed by Hamas, and of course the owners of this TV network help fund Hamas. So I'm very proud that Israel, immediately after the tragic death of that Arab teenager, used all of its resources to try to investigate and incarcerate those that were responsible. In contrast, it is very hard to find any Arab government or any Arab authority that has been willing to arrest, extradite, or punish anyone for killing a Jew, because it all too often among Israel's enemies is open season on those of the Jewish faith. And in fact, those who murder the most Israeli civilians are the ones for whom squares are named, whose names are celebrated, whose families are rewarded, and this is a bizarre response.
Congressman, you recently said on your Twitter page that revenge killings are not only reprehensible, but they hurt Israel's security, which depends on its alliances and its standing in the world. With that being said, how would you advise Israel's leaders to move forward through this conflict?
I would say that those who killed Mohammed need to be identified, investigated, and prosecuted to the full extent of the law, and that the Israeli justice system has to operate as it has. And if, in addition to the 6 that are incarcerated, if there are others that need to be investigated, and that they need to face the full brunt of the law as well. But the idea that you would have a TV station funded by those and owned by those who fund Hamas, and that Hamas would use all of its efforts in a clear effort to kill as many Israeli civilians as possible, and then you on this TV station say, well, maybe it's not a war crime because it's not successful. The rocket didn't hit a kindergarten. It was aimed at a kindergarten, but it didn't hit a kindergarten, so then it's not reprehensible.
Congressman, I definitely appreciate your perspective on this. I don't know about us saying that anything was or was not a war crime. So if we could, I'd love to stay on the actual conflict and how we resolve it going forward. With that being said, obviously there's always two sides to any argument. The Palestinians would argue that the Israelis' response to those teenagers' death was an over-escalation or an over-response. From your standpoint, if the reverse had happened, how would you feel if Israel would have done the same thing?
I think Israel's response is proportionate. I don't think there's always two sides to every story. Those who are trying to kill as many babies and children and women as possible and who rejoice in their death, that's one side, and then the other side are those who prosecute those who engage in wrongful death. That's not, oh, well, there's merit on both sides. No. You have one side in this conflict that is doing everything it possibly can to reduce and avoid civilian casualties and to prosecute those who engage in acts against civilians. And then you have the Hamas side, and I won't say that this applies to everyone in Fatah, but certainly the Hamas side, which of course Qatar supports, that rejoices in how many babies they can kill, how many children they can kill. They name squares and provide subsidies to those who are able to kill civilians, and they aim their rockets at civilian targets. That's not two equal sides.
Congressman Brad Sherman joining us here from Washington. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.